All right, everybody, on behalf of Professional Title, want to welcome you guys to handle objections from sellers so that you can handle today's markets. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to do the 4 most popular seller objections and how to handle them. So one of the questions that I get all the time is really one of 4 questions, which is an objection that they're getting or that you're getting or that an agent is getting from a seller. And what I want to hit on today is how to handle all of those, the most popular 4 that are coming up in today's market. Now, keep in mind, in every market, objections change, right? But I'm going to share with you the 4 that are the most popular now and how to handle them. And then we'll just talk about some key tactics for making sure that we can handle these objections. So those of you that I don't know, my name is Ryan McHugh. I work with Cindy at Professional Title. This is your first time joining us. Welcome. We do these Zoom calls every Monday at 12 o'clock. And we do in-person events in your area monthly as well, which we will share with you a little bit later, what we have coming up this week. If we've never met before, I come from the real estate side. I sold a whole bunch of houses in the past. I ran a team that was the #1 team in the state of Florida for about 38 months in a row. We did between 45 and 50 closings a month through that time. And we were #1 in units in the state of Florida and number 11 in units in the world at the time. And then I also ran a really large real estate office. I built an office and had 225 agents working for me for about 5 years. So our goal is, of course, to get your title business. But what I like to do is educate and add value and help you guys build your business, and then just believe that you will do the right thing and give us that title business back. So if you learn anything today that helps you go out and get a deal, send Cindy the title deal. And that is all that I can ask. All right, let's dive in to how to handle objections from sellers. #1, right off the bat here, I have a friend or family member with whom I'm going to list. This is a standard one, especially in the state of Florida. It seems like when people move here, they get 2 things, a driver's license and a real estate license, right? Especially now when there's more realtors licensed in Florida than there ever has been in the past. This is a common problem or a common objection. And most of the time, that friend or family member is a part-time agent or they just got licensed. And the seller or the seller lead does not want to, hurt someone or let someone down or have a bad, experience at their next family dinner when they say that, oh, you didn't list with me. So this is a common objection that we get. So I'm going to give you guys a handful of scripts for this one, and then we're going to talk about some strategies with it. So a couple different scripts. I understand your comfort in consulting a friend or family member. That is completely understandable. However, will your friend or family member tell you the hard facts when they arise? Personal, friends, and business transactions will generally cause one side to leave. Your home is not only your pride and joy, but also your largest asset. You need to make certain that you take care of it. #2, if you're a more experienced agent, considering selling your home is one of the biggest financial moves you will make. It's not personal, it's just business. Would you be comfortable giving them your 401k or other investments to handle? 10% of the agents do 90% of the business, and I'm one of those agents. You owe it to yourself and your family to hear what my experience can offer you. Or #3, let's do this. I'll give your friend or family member a referral fee, and I'll also make the call for you. This way, your friend or family member makes his or her money without having to lift a finger, and you can still save your relationship. Here's a bunch of questions or one-liners that you could use too. Are you ready to disclose that level of personal information with your family member or your friend? Or what about this? Can you both be completely emotionally detached from probably your most important business transaction? Or what is plan B if in the middle of the negotiation that relationship gets seriously hurt? Or are you ready to jeopardize your relationship over losing money? Or what's more important, this investment or your relationship with this person? And my friend Brian Perry, who is a mega agent down in Boynton Beach, is very, very direct. And when someone says, I'm thinking about listing with my friend or my family member, he just says, are you okay with not being friends with them anymore? Because very often that's what happens, especially if a transaction goes sideways. All right, so what do you do to handle this objection besides just these scripts? #1 is you really need to understand their DISC. If you don't know what a DISC is, it is a personality assessment. Tony Robbins uses it among others. If you've never taken one, you should go on, just Google Tony Robbins DISC. and actually take the assessment. You'll learn a lot about yourself, but you'll also learn a lot about others by doing this. If you guys want, I could do a disc class. We might even do it in person. I'm not sure, but Cindy and I will figure it out either on Zoom or in person. But basically, if you don't know what these are, each letter in the disc stands for a personality type. The D is your dominant, direct, driver kind of personality. You will very rarely run into this objection with the D personality because they won't be speaking to you if they are thinking about listing with a friend or a family member. They would have already just done it. They are the kind of person that wants results. They want it now. They don't care about your marketing program or your price point or how many letters you have after your name or what your business cards look like or your social media, right? They just want to know, are you going to sell the house? When are you going to sell it? And how much am I going to get? So they don't often interview multiple agents or do the whole, I'm going to work with my friend or family member, because they don't want to waste their time talking to an extra person that they don't have to. So you rarely will see this objection come from them. The I personality is where you get it the most. The I personality is that one that is the life of the party. They are the one that they want everyone to like them. They're usually the one with the flashy car and the funny outfits. And, they're the one that everybody knows in the room. And this personality is the one that gets most bothered if they think someone is not going to like them or appreciate them. So this is the personality type that very often you see this objection from. And when you get this one, it's very important to find out from them what is most important about using that friend or family member. The S personality is your structured personality. These are the people that love checklists and order, and they want to know exactly what you're going to do every step of the way. So this person, sometimes you'll get this objection from, because if they're going to allow you to either work with that person or send them a referral fee or cut them out, they want to know exactly what you're going to do. And then the C personality is your more cautious kind of personality. These are usually people that deal with money. They might be like your editors, your accountants, your controllers. Anyone that deals with money or detail is usually the C person. They want to make sure that everything is done right. Right. They want it done right. And they don't care if they have to use spell check 10 times or get it looked over by 20 different people. These are the people that if you run into this objection with them, they're going to want to make sure the transaction is handled correctly, but also they're going to count every cent and make sure that if you're paying the other person or working with the other person, that person gets their money also. So what you need to do is, first of all, understand what kind of personality they are. Now, you're not going to be able to send every seller a disc personality, but if you learn the disc well enough, you'll pick up on things. Sorry. And in the class that we do with this, you really learn how to do these, but you want to make sure you understand that personality type, because once you do, then you can find out what's most important to them about using that friend or family member. Is it that they just want to make sure they get paid? Is that they're new and they want to let them use their asset to, springboard their career or their business? Is it that they want to make sure that they get the correct guidance or help they need? Whatever it is, there's an option, right? So something you can do is you can offer that family member or friend a referral fee. So you could say, Mr. Seller, I understand that you want to make sure your sister's brother's niece's nephew's ex-boyfriend gets paid because he has his real estate license. So what I'm willing to do is send them a referral fee. I'll do all the work. They don't even have to do anything. I'll send them a referral fee. So they'll get paid on the file. However, your asset is in the hands of a professional, right? So that could work with that personality. Sometimes you could split or co-list the deal. So if that person just wants to make sure that they're involved, you might be willing to split it or co-list it. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to do that, and I get it, but getting a deal in this market and getting half of it is better than not getting any, right? Because we know if we take a listing 30 or 40 days later, we're getting paid. And it also gives us a reason to market and do a million other things. So sometimes splitting or co-listing is the right way to go. Sometimes that person's new, right? The family member or friend is new, and the seller is willing to let that person use this property as their way to get into the business. So you might want to offer to coach or guide or work with that friend or family member in exchange for a referral fee or a split, and that's okay too. Sometimes the family member or friend just wants to make sure that this agent gets taken care of. So maybe you recruit them, right? Maybe you bring them into your company or your brokerage because they're going to get taken care of, and you do a deal with them that way. And that's okay too. Whatever option makes the most sense for you is fine. But one thing you might want to do is call that friend or family member and tell them you will be taking the listing and here's how the process is going to go. I'm taking the listing. I'm going to give you a referral fee. Here's what I expect from you. Here's what you can expect from me. Your friend wanted to make sure that you got paid. So I'm guaranteeing here that you're going to get paid, but here's how it's going to work. So whatever way you choose to handle this is fine. But just know this one's going to come up a lot. So you want to make sure you know those scripts, right? Or at least have them in your toolbox. And you want to make sure you're always planning to understand that personality type and make sure that you're willing to, offer them something, because a lot of people it's just non-negotiable that the friend or a family member gets paid. And if that's the case, I'd rather you get 50 or 75% of the money and the deal than get nothing because you're not willing to compromise. So it's okay to get half or a piece of the deal. All right, number 2. But what do you charge? Or what about your commission? Or how much does it cost? Right? Anything that's commission related, right? Anytime you get that objection, I'm going to give you 2 scripts and then we'll talk about it. Script number 1, I don't know. So when they say, what do you charge? I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. When I do get to see the house and assess the situation, I'll give you a menu of services to allow you to make the decision that makes the most sense for you and your goals. Am I able to come over today at 2 or would tomorrow at 4 work better? Here's another script. It's not about what I or we, if you're a team, it's not about what I charge, but about what your goals are and what I can earn to help you achieve them. Once I see the house and learn more about your goals, we can explore the options that allow you to net the most amount of money in a time frame that works for you with the least amount of stress possible. So does today at 2 or tomorrow at 4 work better for your family for me to come over and check out your home? So those are 2 script options, but I really want to talk about what you do with the commission. Now, some people that, their go-to is just discount it at all costs. They don't care, right? They're not willing to fight for their own money. So whatever, if that's you, okay, right? I'm not into the discount thing, but if you are, I'm not going to fight you on that, whatever. But the big thing, the important thing to do is develop a menu of services. Now, our menu of services went from 4.5% to 8%. Now, I understand in some brokerages, you're not allowed to do that, or maybe it's your principal that you're not going to do for that cheap or that expensive. That's fine. I'm just telling you what ours was, 4.5% to 8%. For 4.5%, it would be 2.5% would go out to the buyer's agent and 2% to us, the listing agent. And for that 2%, you essentially got the 3 Ps. You got the house put in the MLS, you got a sign put in the yard, and then everybody prayed that it sold, right? So you weren't really doing anything as the listing agent on this. It was essentially a glorified FSBO. But for some people, that's what they want, right? They just want someone to do the paperwork for them and someone to put it in the MLS. And if that's what you're willing to do, great. All the way up to the 8% one, which is, that white glove concierge service where you don't put a lockbox on the house and you go show it every time. And I know some people think that's obnoxious. And the truth is that 5 or 6%, it's obnoxious. But at 8%, it's not as obnoxious, especially when you still offer out 2.5 or 3% to the buyer side and you take, 3, 4, 5, 6% on your side, still while paying them out, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And I will tell you, there will be some listings that I will gladly go and open the door and show every time. If I'm making, an extra $10,000 or an extra 2%, I will gladly go and open the door every time, right? So you develop that menu of services, and the key is letting them choose. And what you need to understand is that everyone is not going to always choose the cheapest, right? A lot of agents think that, and that's their only value proposition is being cheaper, right? One of my favorite phrases or quotes is, in the absence of value, price controls, meaning if you have no value or you can't articulate that value, the only option you have is to be cheaper. And that is a strategy that a lot of people use, but it's not always the best strategy, right? And it's not one that you use in your daily life. So why should you use it in your business, right? I want you to think of I'm going to give you some examples of where there's a price option, right? Or a menu of options that makes sense, right? And different ones of these will make sense to different people. But think about the car industry, right? You can go out and you can buy a Kia and you can go out and buy a Ferrari. Now, these are very different customers with very different goals, right? However, the person that's buying the Kia wants the most economical car, something that is good on gas, that maybe is the cheapest payment that they could possibly get themselves into. It's going to get them from point A to point B. They don't care if it's flashy. They just want to go from point A to point B in the most economical way possible. And that is perfectly fine, right? Then you get the person that goes out and buys the Ferrari. It's horrible on gas, right? They're loud and flashy, and that's fine. The person that's buying the Ferrari doesn't care about the gas mileage. They don't care about the economic factor of it. They want to be noticed. They want to be seen. They want to be flashy. It's a status symbol, and that's fine. There will always be Kia and Ferrari, right? I want you to think about if you go to the bar, right? And you decide you're going to get a drink and they ask you, do you want the cheap house tequila or do you want 1942, right? And some of us are going to get the cheap tequila and we're going to be okay with the fact that we're going to be sick or have a hangover that night or the next day. And some of us are going to get the more expensive tequila and we're going to have a better experience, but we're going to pay for that. That's okay. Either way, nothing wrong with it, right? Perfectly fine. I want you to think about hotels. Sometimes we need to go somewhere that's clean and safe and crash, and we go and we get the Motel 6, whatever a cheap hotel is. And sometimes we want to go for a high-end experience and we want to get a good view and a tub and have the best experience possible in a beautiful room that's amazing. So we stay at the Ritz. Perfectly fine. Right? Sometimes we're going to go shopping and we're going to go to Walmart or we're going to go to Nordstrom's. Either one, perfectly fine. We have to understand people are not always going to just take the cheapest. So we don't need to only just offer the cheapest. If we have that menu of services and each percentage or each commission opportunity is laid out clearly, where for 4.5% we do this, 5 we do this, 6 we do this, 7 we do this, 8 we do this. It allows the seller to choose based on what they want. And it allows you to make what you need to make to be profitable based on what you're going to do. So if you're not willing to do a 4.5%, great. Don't put that on your menu of services, right? Make yours 5, 6, and 7. I don't care what yours is, but you need to have that menu to let them choose. At the end of the day, you guys are selling real estate to make money, right? There has to be profit in this. I know for us, it used to cost us between $3,200 and $3,500 for every listing that we would do if we did the higher end package. Now, if they didn't want a piece of that, great. Well, we're willing to cut a piece of that out in exchange for taking less commission because we could do less things, right? If we don't have to do the broker's open or the video tour or the $1,000 of social media ads, fantastic. Then you can pay less because you're not going to get that service. It's okay to let them choose what they want to pay for and get what they want to pay for. There's nothing wrong with that. Understand that it is okay to not take every listing. You need to be profitable. Right. And when someone says, well, I'm going to list it with the other guy because he said he would do it for 1%, that's your choice. If that's not profitable for you or not worth it, that is okay. Right. Any listing, however, does give you an option to take massive action. So I don't want to take money out of your pocket. I'm not telling you what commission to take. But remember, every time you take a listing, first of all, in this market, you're getting paid. Right. And second of all, it allows you to take massive action, which means it allows you to do an open house. It allows you to make phone calls. It allows you to circle prospect, door knock, do marketing, do social media, get reviews, get exposure, right? All these things are good and help to drive other business. So sometimes it's worth taking a half of a point less than what you want to take in exchange for getting to take massive action and create other opportunities. And always remember, some will, some won't. So what next? Right? Some will list for cheap, some won't. Some will list for the expensive commission, some won't. Either way, we need to go find more listings. One of the things I always see is usually the people that are discounting are regularly the people that are not doing a lot of deals, right? Because they feel they don't have enough value or they can't articulate that value and they want the listing so bad, so they're willing to do it for cheaper. And that's okay. If that's you, whatever. But if you know how to handle this and you have that menu of services planned out, you'll never have that problem, I promise. All right, number 3, I'm going to sell it myself. So this is essentially them deciding they're going to FSBO it instead of work with you. There's not necessarily a great script for this because this is an ego thing for most people. They think they're going to sell it themselves because they're a great salesperson and they're going to save money. So is there some witty script to out, with them? Not necessarily. However, what you need to know is the stats. And you need to have a plan on what to do when this happens. So let's talk stats first. Last year, FSBOs accounted for between 7 and 8% of the total sales. So not that much, right? The average days on market for a home sold with a realtor versus the home sold as a FSBO was the same. This is the first time ever it's been the same. So if someone listed as a FSBO or someone listed with a realtor today, both homes on average would sell in 7 days, which is crazy. But we know that 41% of FSBOs are doing this to save money. However, when we look at what they sell for, the FSBOs, this is the big difference. In some markets, they only sell for 5.5% less. In some markets, they sell all the way up to 26% less than when they're sold with an agent. So when we look at these numbers, time frame might be even, but money is not. And for some people, time frame is what matters. So fine, sell it however you want. But for some people, money is what matters, in which case the FSBO makes no sense, right? 5.5% less is the commission, right? So if we're selling for just commission less, even though sometimes they're still paying a buyer's agent in there, does it make sense to not have the opportunity to earn more money? The typical FSBO nationwide last year sold for $260,000 compared to $318,000 for those that were sold with an agent. Now, in some markets, we're going to see up to 36% of sellers try to go FSBO. However, only 11% of them will actually succeed. When we look at FSBO sales numbers, they've been dropping like crazy, almost 50% since the 80s. So as the transactions get harder, which is good, as the contracts get harder, which is good, less and less people FSBO. But the things that we find are that the ones that FSBO make less money. So some of the issues that they could run into, first of all, 19% of buyers do not even know how to find FSBOs. And I bet more than 19% of realtors don't even know how to find FSBOs. So if we're not exposing the property to the most or the largest or the entire segment of the market, how can we expect to get the most amount of money? We can't, right? 73% of buyers believe they can out-negotiate FSBOs, and they're right. If you get a very savvy buyer, they will out-negotiate an inexperienced FSBO all day. And most of the time it comes down to closing costs, title, inspection fees, appraisal fees, all those things where the buyer will get the sellers to pay for all these things, even though they're not always required to. And 34% of FSBOs already know a buyer, right? So this is an issue because if they already know their buyer, right, or they're selling without you because they already know the buyer, there's not much you can do about it. And that's okay, right? We're not going to get all of them. But what we need to do to make sure we conquer these and make sure we actually get them all, first of all, we need to find the FSBO sellers using either my Zillow strategy or whatever other service you want or you're paying for. And you need to introduce yourself and get face-to-face with these people within the first 7 days. We know the average is that they're selling in 7 days. So we need to make sure we're in front of them in those first 7 days. So if they do miss out and don't sell in 7 days, we still have the option to actually get out there and convert this FSBO, right? You can do that by offering to host the FSBO open house. We've talked about that in a lot of classes in the past. Remember, they sell faster, 7 days on average now than before, but they're also giving up faster, right? Because they have that fear of missing out. And when they get past the first week or two, they're thinking, oh my God, am I missing the market? Am I doing something wrong? And they don't want to do that. So they're giving up earlier and working with an agent quicker. So you need to make sure you have a multi-week, multi-touch follow-up plan in place so that you're staying with them. Very often, if you guys remember Survivor, they used to say, I think it was outwit, outplay, outlast was the Survivor quote. It's the same exact thing with FSBOs, right? On day one, a FSBO will get a bunch of calls. On week one, or at the end of week one, they get less. And, you know, by 2 weeks in, most realtors have already given up on them. So whoever outwits, outplays, and outlasts is going to be the one that gets that listing. So it needs to be you. Now, if you connect us early enough in the process with title and the opportunity comes back, we will refer them back to you if we can get them to work with an agent. It's not always going to be the case, right? But having another person on your side is always good. And you need to remember, some will, some won't. So what next? And I know we've said this every one of these, but you always need to remember this, guys, because at the end of the day, we all know this, if someone puts their home for sale as a FSBO today, it's within 5% of being priced correctly. And they do some decent pictures and marketing, and they're very accessible, meaning they actually answer the phone, you know, they let people come and see the property. There's a great chance that they're going to sell it on their own, and that's okay. Some of them are going to sell, but for everyone that sells, there's going to be one that doesn't, right? And that gives you the opportunity. And you always need to remember there's new FSBOs literally every day, right? Every day, every week, there's going to be new FSBOs. So if you don't get this one, it's okay. It's about having a system that you can consistently be going after these, but really consistently understanding that this is an objection that you're going to hear. I'm just going to try and sell it myself. And knowing the stats and knowing how to kind of combat this and having a plan is going to be what allows you to be successful with this. All right. And number 4, the most popular one in today's market. Where will I go? Or what if I can't find a home? Or what if I can't find a house in time? Or what am I going to do if I sell it and then I'm homeless? Right? There's an easy script for this, but there's a lot of knowledge and practice required on your part, and we're going to talk about that. So here's the script. The truth, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that you really have 3 options that we can make work for you. You can either 1, buy now and sell later, 2, sell now and stay put for now, 3, sell now and move now. Now, all of these options have pros and cons, yet we can make any of them work for you. One of my specialties is providing an experience catered specifically to each seller. So why don't I come over today at 2 or tomorrow at 4, and together we can come up with the plan that makes the most sense for you and your family. So you, as an agent, need to understand these 3 and need to be able to stop what you're doing at any moment and put these into play if you want to be successful. Because we are hearing this all the time, right? And this objection is one that sellers are just out scripting agents on. Sellers are winning this battle. When they say, I'd love to sell, but I don't know where I'd go, agents are just giving up because they don't know how to battle it. So here's how. You have to put into play one of these 3 things. And when you sit with them and explain them, all of them have good parts, all of them have bad parts, but all of these work. So let's talk about buy now, sell later first. They could either work with some sort of a flexible buyer or an investor or iBuyer. So what we mean by this is if they were to go buy now, right, buy something else now and then sell later, if they're working with a flexible buyer where they don't need to move in, right away, that's fine, right? And you can word that or negotiate that or work that into the contract. Or if they're working with an investor or an iBuyer, a lot of times what will happen, and this happens literally every day, is people will say, listen, I'm going to buy your house. I don't care when you move, as long as you move within 120 days. But in exchange for that, I'm going to pay 90 cents on the dollar. So they're going to take a little bit of a discount, but it gives this person the freedom to buy something now when they can, and then they could just sell it later when they're settled and they moved into the new spot. New construction is another great one here, right? They can put a down payment or a deposit on new construction, and until they know their move-in date or they're within 30 days of their move-in date, they don't have to sell, right? Because they also don't need to pay for the new home, the new construction home, outside of the deposit until they are right there ready to move. Or we could do any one of these loan products. And we're going to talk about these. I'm doing an in-person event in your area Friday that we'll talk about later. But these are some popular loan products that work for this situation that allow someone to buy now and sell after they're settled into house 2, right? So number 1 is the bridge loan. These will usually come with a more expensive rate, right? And some points up front are not the best terms. But a lot of times it allows people to do something. It allows them to buy house number 2 now, move in there, then sell house number 1, and then refi the loan for house number 2, their new house. So they're carrying 2 houses for a minute, but it allows them to get into the new house and bridge that gap, which is good. Then there's the recast loan. This is when you take the equity from both houses, basically, from the house that you own currently and the house that you're about to buy, and you finance the amount that you need to cover both, and then you recast the loan. So let me give you an example. Let's say your seller is going to sell house number 1, and that house is worth 300, but they have 150,000 in equity, right? So they have 150,000 in equity and they owe 150,000. Then on house 2, it's worth 500,000, and they're going to put that 150,000 down. So they need to afford, or they need to finance 350. So we're going to take the 150 finance from the first house and the 350 from the second house to get a total loan of 500,000. So they qualify for a loan of 500,000. They buy the second house. When they buy the second house, they then sell house number 1, and they take that equity, the first 150,000 from house 1, and then they pay that down on house 2. So now they only owe 350 on house 2. The loan gets recast, meaning they now base the loan and your payment on the new amount, the 350, and you don't need to refi. So this is a great option for some. Then there's the cross-collateralized loan, which is basically a loan that's betting on the equity of property number 1. So let's say you have 40% equity in property number 1, and you're going to go buy property number 2. They finance you for property number 2 based on the fact that they know you're going to have plenty of equity coming in from house number 1. Now they gamble on this. The lenders gamble on this because basically what they're doing, or what they're saying is, okay, we know that if the market, even if the market falls off in the 90 days it's taking you to do these transactions, and it falls 10%, you still have 30% extra equity in the house, you're going to be fine. So we can move the equity from house 1 into house 2. All right, number 2, the sell now and stay put for now. This is where 3 options. You could do a delayed closing, right? So you can get under contract, get a deposit in and not close for 90 days. So that gives you time to go find something. We could do the post-occupancy closing, which means you sell now, get the money, but you stay in the house for 30, 60, 90 days, right? This is happening a lot. Or you do the lease back. You sell now and you rent back from the new buyer. This is a great option for people that want to get the cash out so they're stronger as a buyer on the next property, but they don't want to be homeless. Then there's option 3, the sell now and move now. So they could sell now and do a coinciding closing. So they sell now and they do end up finding something. So great. They just buy that and we close them both on the same day. They could sell now and move to an annual rental, right? Some people are thinking the market's going to fall off, so they want to take their cash out and just go into a rental. They could sell now and move into a short-term or seasonal rental to allow them to figure it out. They could sell now and move to the vacation rental, the Airbnb or the FSBO, until they figure it out. Or they can sell now and move with friends or family until they figure it out, right? So all of these options are viable. They're not all going to work for every client, but you need to understand these and be able to explain these and the pros and the cons for each one, what makes sense to them to be able to do this. So what do you do with the person that says, well, I don't know where I would go? So you use the script from the beginning, but you need to make sure you ask enough good questions to really understand what's most important to them. Is it money? Is it the time frame? Or is it the stress level? Some people want to cash out and get the most amount of money possible and just get out. Those are the people that should sell now and then kind of figure it out after, right? So sell now and do the post-closing or the post-occupancy or the lease back. Some people, the time frame is the most important, right? So they should do the buy now and sell later because they want to get moved in. Some people, the stress level is what's most important. So for them, maybe they should just sell and go into a short-term rental so they can take a breath. And it's fine either way. You just need to create the plan that makes the most sense for them in their current time. And remember that every seller is going to be different, right? This is not a one-size-fits-all option that's going to solve everybody's problem. Each one is going to be very different. One thing you want to always do, find, create, and constantly update a list of Airbnb and VRBOs that might work if the seller becomes homeless, because that's their biggest fear, right, is being homeless. Now, if they cash out here at the top of the market and get a big chunk of money, but they have to spend $3,000 for a month on Airbnb to figure it out, it's not the end of the world, right? It's okay. You want to make sure you're also building your vendor list around this common objection, right? So the first vendor you should have in there, if you don't already have them, is storage. Think about how valuable storage could be. If people sell now, move everything out, and then move into an Airbnb where they can't really have much stuff besides like their clothes, they need storage for all their stuff. So find the local storage companies that are doing the, first month free or buy 3 months, get 1 month at $1 or whatever discount or codes they have, right? Then the moving companies. You need to find the moving companies that give you the option where, hey, if we move your stuff out of your house now, but you don't know where you're going to go, we'll keep it in our truck or in our warehouse or in our factory or whatever. And yes, you pay for it to be there. However, it gives you the option of knowing your stuff is safe and climate controlled and not going wrong, right? Or not going bad. However, it gives you a minute to figure it out. And you pay for that, of course, right? But you're paying for the convenience, which is okay. And you also need to make sure you have the mortgage lenders that have different products that give you the opportunity to service these people in the right way. And you need to make sure you're practicing and delivering these options, because these are the options that no one is getting. And again, sellers are out scripting agents on these left and right because they're just saying, I don't know where I'm going to go. And the agents are then giving up because they can't explain what we just did on the last slide. So some key tactics for handling objections. Number 1, be prepared with the pre-programmed responses ready. The 4 objections that we just covered are really the only 4 that you're getting in today's market. So if you know they're going to hit you with one of those 4, all you need to do is have your responses ready for those 4 things, because that's what comes up, right? You can solve every one of these 4. We just covered how to solve every one of them today. Number 2, you need to practice these things, right? If you know these are going to keep coming up, why wouldn't you practice them? Number 3, you need to be actively listening and asking enough questions to fully understand the objection. You really just need to isolate the objection. So you can do that by saying something like this. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what I'm hearing you say is you're ready, willing, and able to list with me today. However, your only objection is that if you sold, you're not really sure or comfortable with where you'd go yet. Is that right? Well, yeah, we want to sell, but we're really worried about being homeless. Awesome. So if I can show you or clearly lay out a plan that helps you understand and makes you feel comfortable about where you're going to go, you'd be willing to list with me today. Is that right? Yes. Great. Let's do the right thing, come up with a plan and get you listed, right? If you isolate that objection and then just clearly lay out the plan on how to handle it, it's your listing, right? Because they said, yes, I'm willing to work with you, but my only objection is your commission. Awesome. Well, then why don't we do the menu of services and you choose which one you want? And then we'll move on today with the listing. Right? Either way, you just need to push them onward, no matter what. You need to push them forward. You might get a no today, but if you master these objections and these handlers, you'll get them closer to the yes. And that's what it takes, right? People want to sell today because they don't want to miss out on cashing out on this value, right? So you just need to help move them closer to that yes. In summary, there are plenty of listings out there to be had. Right? You just need to know the 4 objection handlers that come up every day when we're dealing with sellers, and we just covered all those. As always, thank you guys for your business. We appreciate it. Carrie, thank you as always for the slides and making everything look nice. Coming up, a couple of different things. So first of all, Friday, we have 2 different events, which Cindy can get you a seat for both. In the morning, we are doing 10 tips to get buyers right now. Now, there's going to be some interesting stuff with the lender in there that I think you guys should come and check out. This will be the first time that I'm teaching this class at all. So we're going to give you some tips and tricks and strategies on how to get buyers right now to actually also buy right now if you're struggling with this. Then Friday in the afternoon, a different class, we're just doing an agent mastermind. So we're going to figure out what topics you guys want to cover. We usually end up covering leads, listings, and leverage. Maybe some technology, some things like that. So if you guys want to work on that and be a part of that mastermind, come and join us for that in the afternoon. And then next Monday, 1 week from today, we're doing understanding affordability in the hardest real estate market in history. So I'm going to show you a cool piece of technology that we have that helps you understand affordability, but also helps your buyer understand what they can afford based on what they're comfortable with their monthly payment being, so that you don't have to have that tough conversation with them about what to buy or what not to buy. So it's a cool tool that lives kind of inside of our app. That is a fun, easy class, but will really help you with working with buyers. As always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Here's all my social and my email. If you're not a member of my private Facebook group for whatever reason yet, take out your phone, open up your camera, point it at the QR code, and it will take you to the Facebook group, request access, and I will let you join. If you have any questions at all, type them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask. And if not, you guys are free, and I hope you have a good day.